Since antiquity, few names inspire as much respect as the Roman army. It's widely regarded as one of the most powerful and successful military forces in all of history, capable of conquering vast territories and keeping an empire running for centuries. But here's an intriguing question. If the Romans were so incredibly efficient, why didn't any other army manage to fully copy their military model? In this video, we're diving into 10 reasons that made the Roman army simply unmatched, and how those factors turned Rome into the greatest military power of its era. 1. Intensive training and professionalization. To kick things off, you need to understand that the Roman army wasn't just some ragtag group of armed men thrown together on the fly. From the earliest days of the Republic, the Romans began transforming what had been a citizen militia into a true professional force, trained with meticulous care and iron discipline. At first, many soldiers were only called up in times of need, serving for short stints without deep training. But as Rome expanded, wars grew longer and more complex, creating a demand for soldiers who made warfare their lifelong career. That's when military service stretched to about 25 years, and training became relentless and ongoing. Recruits drilled in heavy marching, close-quarters combat, shield and sword work, javelin throws, and mastering group formations and maneuvers. But it wasn't just about raw physical strength. Roman soldiers also mastered military tactics, basic engineering, building camps, roads, and fortifications, plus operating siege engines like catapults and battering rams. This turned every soldier into far more than a basic fighter. He was a precision-trained cog in a massive military machine, ready to battle in almost any terrain or weather. Few armies had the resources, time, and structure to sustain that level of professionalism, which is exactly why hardly anyone could replicate the Roman model. 2. Ironclad discipline. If training shaped a soldier's body and mind, discipline was what kept the Roman army running like a well-oiled machine. A legionary's life revolved around a strict system of rewards and punishments. When a soldier excelled in battle or performed his duties flawlessly, he could earn prizes, decorations, a share of the loot, or even promotions. This built constant motivation, pushing every man to strive for excellence. On the flip side, mistakes, cowardice, or disobeying orders could lead to harsh punishments, from losing privileges and demotions to severe physical beatings. In extreme cases, entire units faced collective punishment, hammering home the idea of shared responsibility. This tough but effective approach ensured orders were followed to the letter, even in the most dangerous situations. Discipline forged a powerful sense of unity, duty, and respect for the chain of command, something many enemy armies simply lacked in the same measure. 3. Flexible structure and organization. Another key pillar was the Roman army's structure and organization. The basic unit was the legion, made up of around 5,000 men, but the real secret wasn't just the numbers, it was the smart way those soldiers were organized. Inside a legion were smaller divisions like cohorts and centuries, each with a clear, specialized role. Heavy infantry formed the corps, built for direct combat, while cavalry units flanked enemies, chased down fugitives, and launched swift strikes. On top of that, Rome relied on auxiliary troops recruited from allied or conquered peoples. These auxiliaries brought specialized skills, like archers from expert regions, horsemen from tribes with deep riding traditions, or light troops suited to rough terrain. This mix of troop types made the Roman army incredibly adaptable. They could reshape their formations to match the enemy and battle type, like a giant clock where every gear, operating independently, still drove perfect, synchronized motion. 4. Superior logistics. But what's the point of well-trained, organized soldiers if they're starving or out of ammo mid-campaign? That's where one of Rome's biggest aces came in: logistics. Rome built a massive network of paved roads crisscrossing the empire, letting troops and supplies move fast and safe. Along those routes, they raised camps and supply depots, ensuring steady access to food, water, ammunition, and gear. While many armies of the era struggled massively to stay operational far from home for long, the Romans kept campaigns going for extended periods without breaking down. They also knew how to tap resources from conquered lands efficiently, organizing them without waste. Even after setbacks, this support system let the army regroup and hit back hard and fast. That superior logistics was just as vital as spears and swords, and few empires could match it. 5. Ability to mobilize massive resources. Behind it all lay Rome's ability to marshal resources on a gigantic scale. The empire tapped into tributes, taxes, trade routes, and wealth from conquered provinces, providing a steady flow of cash, labor, and materials. While many kingdoms scraped to fund even one long campaign, Rome sustained multiple fronts, paying soldiers, building ships, maintaining roads and forts. This rock-solid economic foundation gave the Roman army combat power far beyond its headcount on the battlefield. When needed, Rome could recruit fresh troops, churn out more weapons, and rebuild lost forces with stunning speed. That knack for mobilizing and managing resources was one of the big secrets keeping the Roman army active and dominant for so long. 6. Recruitment system and military career path. Another huge edge was the recruitment system and military career structure. Instead of leaning solely on short-term peasant conscripts, Rome maintained a core of professional soldiers who saw the army as their life's path. These men trained non-stop, building expertise across campaigns, climates, and foes. Over time, this bred ultra-competent veterans who could pull off complex maneuvers and make split-second calls in the heat of battle. A striking example of this professionalism plus engineering shown in the siege of Alesia in 52 BC. Under Julius Caesar's command, Roman legions encircled the Gallic stronghold and in just weeks, threw up two massive lines of fortifications around the city. One inward to trap the besieged and one outward to block any relief army. Those walls, ditches, towers, and traps went up while soldiers kept fighting and defending. Only an army of professional, disciplined troops versed in military engineering could pull that off. 7. Capacity for innovation and adaptation. The Romans also stood out for their ability to learn from their own mistakes. They didn't cling forever to failed tactics. They constantly studied what enemies did well and copied or improved it when it made sense. A dramatic case was the Battle of Cannae in 216 BC, during the Second Punic War. There, Carthaginian general Hannibal enveloped and annihilated a huge Roman force, one of the biggest defeats in Rome's military history. Rather than collapse, the Romans dissected what went wrong. They reorganized their legions, tweaked formations, and shifted to avoiding risky direct clashes with Hannibal, opting for smarter, more cautious strategies. Over centuries, Rome adopted new weapons like the pilum and refined formations and tactics as challenges arose. That constant adaptability kept the Roman army almost always one step ahead of its rivals. 8. Engineering and siege tactics. There was one area where the Romans truly shone: military engineering. Rome knew winning open-field battles wasn't enough. They had to capture cities, ports, and fortresses, and hold them. During the siege of Carthage in the Third Punic War, the Romans deployed everything they knew: building walls around the city, raising forts, digging ditches, and using siege machines to smash enemy walls and towers. They totally isolated the city, cutting supplies and blocking reinforcements. In other sieges like Alesia, engineering and strategy hit jaw-dropping levels, with dozens of kilometers of fortifications erected in weeks. Plus, their vast road, bridge, and fortified camp network eased legion movement and ensured safety even in hostile lands. All this made the Roman army feared in every kind of war, especially those where patience, planning, and building made all the difference. 9. Ability to govern conquered territories. One of Rome's most understated but vital secrets to military success was its ability to govern what it conquered. While many armies invaded, looted, and left, Rome had a long-term plan: conquer, organize, and fold new lands into the empire. After conquering Gaul, for instance, Julius Caesar didn't just beat the Gauls at battles like Alesia. He worked to weave those territories into the Roman world. They founded colonies, built roads and cities, and set up administrative structures that brought order and often economic perks to locals. This efficient governance cut down rebellions, secured tribute flows, and supplied fresh troops and resources to the army. In turn, every military win strengthened Rome not just on the battlefield, but politically and economically, forging a power cycle that was incredibly hard to break. 10. Morale and collective identity. Finally, an often overlooked but crucial element: the morale and collective identity of Roman soldiers. A legionary didn't fight just for pay. He battled for Rome, his comrades, and the legacy he believed he was building. A stark example came at the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest in 9 AD, when 3 Roman legions were wiped out in a Germanic ambush. News of the disaster rocked the empire. Emperor Augustus reportedly paced at night, crying, "Varus, give me back my legions." Yet Rome didn't crumble. The empire reorganized, analyzed the failure, bolstered borders, and endured for centuries after the blow. That sense of unity, honor, and shared purpose let soldiers endure grueling marches, bloody battles, and crushing defeats without ditching the Roman ideal. It was an invisible force, but as mighty as any sword. These are the 10 main reasons that made the Roman army so unique and virtually impossible to copy. Intense training, rigid discipline, flexible organization, flawless logistics, resource mobilization, professional military careers, constant innovation, advanced engineering, smart territory governance, and unbreakable team morale. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Rome's military history and want more on battles, leaders, and world-changing strategies, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And of course, drop a comment below. Which other historical army do you want to see in the next video? To follow up, check sources.